finished a 30-day challenge that my mom gave me. 30 days to read Proverbs. Because now that I finished Mom's challenge, my dad recently gave me a challenge, which is switch on your brain. There is a 21-day detox plan. Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. If you guys want to join along, you can get the book and you can day by day grow together. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm just gonna pick out my highlights and you get to enjoy the best bits. So that's what's up, that's what's up. So I just finished chapter 1. Our brain does not control us. We control our brain through our thinking and choosing. And science has proven that a thought is actually a physical thing that changes the physical makeup of your brain. Oh gosh. So it doesn't matter what kind of brain you were born with, the thoughts that you think, the decisions that you choose, all of that you keep stored up there is actually changing the way, physically, the way that your brain works. So the way that we change our brain to form in a more healthful way is based on our reactions. So that was my main takeaway. You can control your reactions to anything. You can't choose when you walk out the door what's going to happen to you, but you can control how you react to those things. And based on those reactions, you're actually changing the way that your brain works and is. And it's pretty wild. That's so cool. How you react. React. That's the key to shaping your destiny. So that's the challenge for today. All right, I'm gonna wear my necklace. All right, this is gonna remind me to pay attention to how I react today, because it's big and clunky, and I'm not used to it, and I can feel it, and every time I feel it, I'll think, oh yeah, focus up, pay attention to how you're reacting to things. All right, let's go. Like, whoa, like it's really hard to notice all of these reactions that I'm having because it's non-stop. React. Figuring out not to try to change it. Kind of like how Dr. Weizer said with these palpitations. Don't try to fix it, just listen to it.
Just be there, just listen. Think of it almost as, another person. You don't have to fix it. But it's a practice. It's not a casual thing. It's like, you got to take it seriously. And very importantly, again, don't try and fix it.
That, I think, is going to be key here. Just recognize it. And then, of course, remembering I can respond, not react. Respond. Don't react. All right, we're going to do a little experiment. We're picking up some Cutco knives. Santa, thank you for the knives. Also, thank you for the inspiration for the next dog. I've never seen a dog like this. It's called I'm going to say it wrong, but most people pronounce them Keeshond. Beautiful dog. Very smart, very attentive, very warm and welcoming. Add it to the maybe list. All right, let's react on. Or respond on. Okay, I think it's worth explaining kind of how I'm thinking through this whole react-respond thing. It helps when you understand how the brain works. And I like the illustration that Dr. Dan Siegel, I wrote it all on my hand so I could remember, but so this is the brain stem. We have, it's loud. Let's go, we're gonna explain this inside. It's a little loud out here. Very easy to react to that without. This is the handy model of the brain that Dan Siegel, sorry if I'm slaughtering that, Dan. This is how he shows how the brain is made up, and knowing how the brain
the core elements of the brain, we can begin to recognize how our reactions and responses differ based on where they're coming from in the brain. So here's your brain right here. If you take your hand and fold your hand with your thumb in the middle and your fingers over top, this is your brain. This being your spinal cord, this is the top of your head.
I didn't do the best job explaining this, so I'm going to let Dan take over, because he made a handy little video, no point in trying to recreate it. So here you go.
One of the most rewarding experiences for me has been to study brain science and apply it to the experience of parenting. And the hand model of the brain that I use to teach parents is very useful to understand that. So if you take your thumb and put it in the middle of your palm, put your fingers over the top, this is a very useful model of the brain. And when we can actually see in front of us what's going on in the brain, then we can change what the brain does. So let me walk you through very basically what happens in this brain and the structures in it. And it goes like this. The spinal cord comes up, representing the wrist, and then you have coming up into the skull the brain stem and the limbic area, which work together to help regulate arousal and your emotions and the way you have a fight, flight, freeze response. These are below the cortex, the limbic and brainstem areas, and the cortex is this higher part of the brain that allows us to perceive the outside world, to think and reason. And this frontmost part of the brain, right behind your forehead, so the person's oriented like this, is actually the part that regulates the subcortical, limbic, and brainstem areas. This regulation is very important because sometimes we can have all sorts of things happen in our life. We're tired, we're exhausted, someone pushes a particular emotional button, and we can flip our lids. So rather than being tuned in and connected and balanced and flexible, we can lose all of that flexibility, even lose moral reasoning, and act in ways that are terrifying to others. So I've had kids come tell me that they're about to go flip their lids and they need a break. They need a timeout. And by even just naming that, they can tame it. And that's the power of using the hand model for ourselves and our children to help us all make sense of what goes on in the emotional communication that we have in the course of day-to-day life.
And this is where our mindfulness meditation practice comes in, because it highlights and strengthens this frontal cortex side of the brain so that we can better react and respond to those inevitable reactions that we're going to have in a more mindful way.
Especially when it comes to like these heart palpitations that I've been having. How I react to the palpitations when I can feel them coming on is the thing that decides if I get a full onset palpitation attack, anxiety attack. It's all how I react.
All right, we're getting kicked out of this cafe. We're getting kicked out of this cafe. So we're going to take advantage of the compassion that has developed in my prefrontal cortex and not upset the people that are working here so that they can go home and get some dinner.
Traffic is the perfect example of today's challenge in recognizing reactions and instead trying to be a little more intentional with responding rather than reacting. We've all been caught up in traffic and some guy cuts us off, or it's just like at a standstill, and our limbic brain instantly goes into like, stress, I need to get out of here, I need to go flip this guy off. It was actually traffic in the first place that started my heart palpitations. It all compounded, but my inability to manage the kind of panic that I had while I was in traffic in my car, that was the trigger, and I couldn't pause and handle my limbic brain with my prefrontal cortex because I just got kind of too caught up and wasn't able to respond more healthfully our frontal cortex is what gets us through it without flipping our lid. Just something to keep in mind. There's exercises like this throughout the day where we can practice developing our most recently developed part of our brain, which is our frontal cortex. And the more that we can develop and exercise that part of our brain, being patient in traffic, not flipping off someone who cuts us off, but instead pausing for a moment to respond rather than react, I think that will help give us more capacity to live based more in compassion and love and just kind of that natural state of our being. But it's hard. It's not easy.
But it's a practice. It's not a casual thing. You got to take it seriously.